real chaos, not what I'm suggesting.
Go back for me right quick and unpack what you were trying to say when you mentioned a moment ago that there are examples around the world where when these issues go unabated, go unaddressed, the middle class gets wiped out. Make the connection between the Fed and the middle class being wiped out.
Okay, if the Fed continues to inflate the currency, that is print money, the dollar loses value, which it's doing all the time. Mexico has had runaway inflation. Central American countries have had runaway inflation. We know about the runaway inflation in Germany, or the most recent one in Zimbabwe. The money goes to zero value, and the people lose out. But the very rich don't lose out. They get bailed out, and they don't care about the cost of living. Right now, they claim the cost of living isn't going up, and the elderly aren't being hurt. Well, the elderly didn't get a cost of living increase this year on Social Security, but the cost of living for them is going up. Sometimes it goes up much faster for somebody living on a fixed income than somebody living on Wall Street. But here, instead of helping those people, we help Wall Street. And they're making billions of dollars. They have $120 billion in the bank now to hand out in bonuses this year. At the same time, we have a 20% unemployment rate. I mean, there's something very unfair about this system.
I couldn't agree more on that point. Let me ask you a final question here. In the book, you talk about the fact, as we've been discussing in this conversation, your notion of how the country can prosper by addressing the Fed as it's now structured. But you also make the point that this is also tied to our freedom. I hear the prosperity argument. What's the freedom argument?
Well, the freedom argument is this. If you have a secret central bank which has been given the license to counterfeit money, they're very, very powerful. So when governments grow, I believe governments grow, they always have to do it at the expense of the individual, whether it's economic liberty or personal liberty or fighting wars that we shouldn't fight. And there's always a cost to this. So if government grows and undermines personal liberty and pass more laws like the Patriot Act and all kinds of things, and you don't have to pay for it. If everybody had to pay for this through taxes, we wouldn't have this type of government. But we tax and then we borrow, and then we still don't have enough money, so we print the money, which then, of course, you accept the economic argument. But at the same time, the bigger the government is, the less personal freedoms that we have. And this is a pretty well-known fact. The maximum amount of freedom is when the government is smaller, and the purpose of government is to protect liberty, protect our civil liberties, to protect our economic liberties, and make sure that we don't get involved in these economic or the wars around the world. Because anytime you're at war, you're supposed to sacrifice for the greater cause, and people are more willing to give up on their civil liberties if we're at war. So it is a freedom issue for me.
Ron Paul of Texas ran for president, as we recall last time around, had a huge following of young people and made an impact in that campaign. He now has a new book out called End the Fed. End the Fed, his new book. Congressman Paul, glad to have you on the program. All the best to you, sir.
Thank you very much.